See George over the, oh, there he is.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. It is afternoon.
It's that time of day when optimism about what you can get done converts into anxiety about what you can get done with what's left in the day. For me.
And I see Ms. Hayden's email to me from 10 minutes ago. I was in another meeting, so my apologies for not having responded to it. Just came at 12:50. But I also see her in the waiting room. So she has found the link to our meeting. Do we know that Sean's coming?
I haven't heard from him.
I can call him. We're gonna need to press on without him.
Did you hear back from him?
Yeah, I just talked to him.
Okay. So I guess that makes me the chair of the meeting, as I recall. Can't remember how our rotation's working. So I'd like to call today's meeting to order for the purpose of discussing, taking public comment and having a discussion of if and whether we want to, and then if so, what we want to recommend to the Bureau of Geographic Names and Interior Secretary Halen's commission on Executive Order 3404, which renames all S-word locations on federal land in the state. They will be renaming it. That's not an issue actually, but it's whether we want to make a recommendation. And I know that we had asked that there might be some kind of outreach by staff, although it was very, very short notice that we got this news on this deadline. So I'm guessing that we probably have no public comment in or outreach to the public on this particular issue. It will be done with or without us, but they would like to have our comment if we'd like to render it. And I think the first thing we should do therefore is call for public comment. And I see two people on the attendee list, Ann Hayden and Suzanne BOCC. Ms. Hayden, if I'm presuming you would like to comment, and if so, can you just raise your hand by going down to the little raise hand button at the top? There you go. Beth, can you bring her over, please? And this is April 4th, 2022 for the purpose of the recording. Good afternoon, or
Good
it's,
afternoon, and thank you, Randy. I'm sorry it was kind of late notice for me to get hold of you. We had our power out until about half an hour ago.
oh,
It's headed your way, big wins.
well, there are, regarding this subject matter, and that's good to know. I'm supposed to be out of here on Wednesday in a plane. I hope we don't have a weather delay like they're having down in the southeast right now. I think you know the subject matter pretty well.
Yeah,
So if you would like to go ahead with your public comment, we'd love to hear it.
yeah. The pass under consideration for renaming, it's a very historical pass in Clear Creek County, as you no doubt know. It was one of the first, if not the first and only way to get to Idaho Springs from Denver was to go over that pass. And you went up Bear Creek Valley and up over the pass and down into the Beaver Creek and Clear Creek drainage there. And there is a wagon road that still exists. I have property on would be the south side of the pass and next to the Evans Ranch. And we have, actually that road is on our property, goes up the Corral Creek drainage. And I would like to recommend that we rename that pass Wagon Road Pass. And we have some really pretty cool historical information that was gathered in interviews of people who actually hauled the wagons over the pass. And we have those interviews that would be really great to put into the historical archives as well. There was timber that was hauled for the mines, hay was hauled, milk, mail, produce that was grown on our side of the pass was taken over to Idaho Springs. And it was a thriving trade route into Idaho Springs. So Wagon Road Pass would be my suggestion. And I did suggest that to the state naming advisory committee. I'm not sure that it's gone through yet to be on anybody's list, but I did recommend that there. So I don't know if you have any questions or that's the only comment that needs to be made.
I don't think I have any questions. George, do you?
No, I think you explained yourself pretty well. Thank you. I could sit here and just dig into a really interesting story, but
Yeah.
maybe that's better off on the side.
Yeah. Thank you for this opportunity.
You bet. Thank you for your previous comments as well on our previous processes.
Yeah, and I'd like to say I really appreciate the process that you all went through to try to make that decision. And it's a hard one. It's definitely such a difficult one, and we'll just see where it ends up. You know, we all want to do the right thing, and sometimes all the right things don't all line up. So thank you so much for your heartfulness and your thoughtfulness to do that process.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, with that, George, do you have any thoughts? Let me start with that for discussion.
Yeah. I mean, I think you stated it already, that this is going to change. This name is going to change. And it seems like it's either going to come down to one of these names that was kind of picked out of a hat by a computer, just sort of what are the geographic names that are close, or something that maybe we can identify that means something to us. And I came into this thinking, well, we went through a process in which a lot of folks just recently regarding Mount Evans sort of talked about the name Blue Sky and what that means to a lot of different people. And so I was kind of weighing that versus, kind of this perspective that the pass is kind of a history of, what am I trying to say here? It's about the history of the people that use the passes to, expand into the mountains and do mining up here and build communities up here. And we're in those communities today. And so I think I'm kind of leaning towards, especially after Anne's words, maybe something different than the name that we emphasize for that peak, or the name that we, promoted for that peak. And Wagon Road Pass seems reasonable to me, but I don't want to like express that as a strong opinion, Randy, because I'm curious about yours as well. And knowing that this is, we haven't had a ton of public engagement, and I don't really, I'll just stop there and kind of curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, a lot of things have run through my head. Of course, we've heard the suggestions. One obvious one, I think, well, let me back up a little bit and say, I think there's a little confusion around the process because it's been described by many people differently, and some of the emails we've received, even from government sources about it, have described it, the list, the spreadsheet that we got as the list that has the suggested proposal for a replacement name. And that's not the case at all. It just lists, if you look at it and you look at S-Word Pass, for example, you see the suggested names as something Gulch or Creek or something like that. And obviously that's not their intention. It's simply a spreadsheet that lists nearby geographic features that could suggest what this name might be, and or any other. And so the only of those that I saw, the only ones that jumped out to me was Mestahay, because it was obviously the result of our previous process. I've heard other people recommend Blue Sky Pass. It's probably, that might turn out to be a good name for it. So does, in my opinion, Wagon Road Pass is an interesting and a good name for it. Could be. And I think that, there are a few ways we could approach this. It could be simply to write a letter of our recommendation to the BGN and the Secretary Halen's committee and everyone. And I think I'm not sure what role the CGNAB will play in these. This is Executive Order 3404 that says to remove all S-word names in the country. Executive Order 3405 addresses all other derogatory and also names that are found offensive for some reason, which means they may not be a derogatory word. So, and they kind of have their own path, but they're seeking so it's not exactly clear to me what the process is. So I imagine that those new federal commissions will want to they'll want to coordinate with the BGN, and they'll probably want to hear from those state committees. So we probably want to simply come out of this with a recommendation of some sort in a letter, or no recommendation. For me, Blue Sky, Mestahay, and Wagon Road all are worthy of consideration. And two of those are not on the list, and that's Wagon Road and Blue Sky. Blue Sky would be a little premature at this moment because that decision hasn't been made and won't be for a few months yet. But it could be that we could do something that would recommend that among those names currently under consideration, based on the spreadsheet that we saw, we could recommend the addition of either one or both of those for them to consider as they go forward and hear their testimony and public comment from other people as well. I think the Wagon Road one has historical merit, and I think Blue Sky has merit also because of its because that the pass. Of course, what we're really talking about is the name of a point on a road, a high point on a road, the pass itself that happens to be in geographic area. But we know that when there's a pass like that name, the road tends to be called by that name also in common language. And so part of that road that's in, from which you can infer a name from the new geographic name of the pass is part of what's currently the Mount Evans Scenic Byway, that will become, the name of that scenic byway will change to, presumably, if the name changes, to whatever name the road changes. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling here a little bit because I hadn't really put a ton of thought into it because I wasn't as vested in this quite as much, especially when I saw the executive orders come out and I knew that they were going to, that on their own, they were going to be renamed, that this pass will. So my first thoughts are that we could go with a letter that recommends Wagon Road, or we could go with a letter that recommends either Wagon Road Pass or whatever Mount Evans Mount Evans changes to or stays the same is also under consideration with those that they already have under consideration. This is hypothetical rambling right now. It's not a
Yeah,
emotion.
I see Sean, oh, and he just put a comment. Sean was able to log in and looks like he's coming over right now.
Good time for Sean to talk if he's heard anything so far.
Hey, I'm so sorry. I just joined. Somehow this didn't manage to get on my calendar, but here I am.
Well, Sean, just in brief summary, Ms. Hayden, Ann Hayden is on with us right now. She came on to make public comment. And her comment was about the name Wagon Road Pass as a possibility. And George thought that had some merit. And then I brought up that we'd also had Blue Sky Pass mentioned to us. I've heard that from a couple of people or seen it in some written comment. And I think that right now what's under consideration on a spreadsheet are a number of nearby geographic places. One of them, Mistahay, the mountain. And so those are already under consideration to draw from for the name of the pass. And it seems to me that either whatever Mount Evans changes to or Wagon Road could be one way to approach this. Is we could recommend that we don't necessarily try to choose one thing, but to say that this is another name, or these are other names that we think should be under consideration. And so I think that summarizes the conversation up to this point.
Okay, thanks.
Does that sound accurate, George?
It does.
So I guess the next question is, what does Sean think?
I think I feel kind of the same about this that I did. Some of the feedback I got from our last go around was that people felt like we didn't do an adequate job of serving our community, the citizens of Clear Creek County, in terms of what their preferences were. And I think there's probably some truth to that criticism. So I guess I don't feel like I should have any other voice other than a normal citizen in this, in terms of my own personal preferences. I'm not even sure what they are, honestly, but I do think we should have some kind of outreach that we feel like we have a representation of the whole community.
I think we had a deadline. I think what we have in this case is because of Executive Order 3404, the commission is going to, this new federal commission that is being formed, or has been formed in this case, I think of 3404, is going to be moving forward and changing the name no matter what. And I think there was a deadline on comment if we wanted to have a comment. Isn't that correct? And that deadline is the end of business today, close of business?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And
Yeah,
so
thank you for that reminder. Yeah, but I think I'll still probably stand by the first part of my comment. I will probably let others who feel more knowledgeable or passionate about one particular name versus another to weigh in on this one.
I think one thing we could do, that's one, and I think my position, the thought I had was I'd like for them to expand beyond the names that they have on the spreadsheet they sent us right now. Because we've had comment from Ms. Hayden now, certainly is one opportunity, and another one is to suggest that whatever Mount Evans changes to, like Mistahay, which S word mountain change to, or worthy of, simply worthy of consideration, and I don't really have a preference beyond as far as which of those it would be, but I would like to know that we recommend they're having as open-minded a view of what it could be as possible.
Um, yeah, I mean, I would be okay with any number of outcomes. I think adding to the voices who we're aware of in our community that have taken interest, just giving them, putting a little bit of wind in their sails makes some sense. And sort of there, I'm only aware of really one local comment. We just heard it. And it happens to be I just kind of like the logic of, what this pass's original use was, and the fact that it built our communities and kind of connected our communities when you think about Clear Creek County geographically being Evergreen and the western area. And so I could be really happy with a letter that says that we like in sort of neutral language that says that we'd like to add Wagon Road Pass to this. I don't see that as doing a great harm, in spite of the well-observed, kind of lack of process around this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably my preference. It's not a strong preference. And if we wanted to throw in, I kind of feel like I wouldn't oppose us throwing in Blue Sky as an option for consideration as well. Although I think that Blue Sky is certain to have clearly is a name that was brought to us as part of a broader coalition, and one that was largely kind of beyond our borders. And so I guess I could be okay with any of the three outcomes, being that we suggest two names for consideration, we don't make any recommendations at all, and my favorite of those three would be that we just recommend Wagon Trail Road.
To be added to the mix. No, I think that's good. I'm totally good with that suggestion. I guess I'm probably a little less good with adding Blue Sky, just because it's a little bit unprecedented to have a kind of somewhat unrelated pass and a prominent peak to be named the same thing.
Well, yeah, I brought up a minute ago. First of all, there's no hard feelings to any outcome here today for me either, just so you know. My guess is that Blue Sky will be something they will think about anyway. And I know that, which can mean we can say it or not say it, and it's probably the same outcome. I know I've seen some comment, and I wish I could remember exactly where I saw it, but several times I've seen comments about people saying name it Blue Sky Pass. And I can't remember if it was in the course of a meeting, or even in the course of, or something I saw on email, or something I saw on Facebook at this point in time. I couldn't even recall. I know I've seen it brought up 2 or 3 times. I'm sure it will be brought up by others in this context. And there are 3 of us here, and if the majority I just heard said that they propose a letter that states, rather than neutrality, or rather than to add Blue Sky and Wagon Road to the list, but what I think I heard was 2 people say they'd like to just add Wagon Road to the list. And if I see nods, then it's pretty easy to develop a staff direction to write a letter to that effect and meet the deadline today. And
Okay.
we need I don't see Peter here, and that's because he's on vacation, and not one of us even plays a lawyer on TV. So we'll have to take a wild guess. I'm going to take a wild guess that we don't need a motion to that effect, but I'm happy to accept one if you're more comfortable with doing that.
It's actually an action item on your agenda.
Or does say action.
You want to make a motion, George?
I was just gonna ask you the same question.
I think Sean's chairing the meeting now. I just was continuing to chair as though I was still in charge.
Okay, well, given, given all that, I can keep this simple and easy. I move that we direct staff to write a letter, or more broadly, do what they need to express our preference that Wagon Road Pass be considered. What, I mean, what are we talking about? Are we talking about, we'll just pause the motion language here for a second. Are we talking about advocating that it be Wagon Road Pass, or are we talking about asking
Adding.
it to be added to the list?
I thought it was the latter, adding it to the list.
Right. That's what I think.
Okay, so a letter, or yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna restart. I move we write a letter asking that the CGNAB and the USBGN add Wagon Road Pass to the list of names they're considering for the change of Squaw Pass name that's gonna happen. I think that's probably the motion.
If I hear a second.
Oh, that's me. I forgot. I'm still mixed up here. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Did you vote, Randy?
I did. I
Oh,
voted
sorry.
aye.
I didn't hear it. Okay, the vote passes unanimously. Thanks, Ann, for that idea. Is there any other business to cover today?
No.
I would just encourage Ann, maybe in support of staff, to send anything she has about
Yes,
what
sir.
Wagon Road Pass could be to Brian, or to one of us, and we can get it to Brian, just to make that letter easier to write.
How do I send it to Brian? I'd be happy to.
It's my-
You can
It's
probably
my
send it to
first-
Beth.
Either one. My email address is there you go, right there.
Okay.
And that's sort of generally all of our email addresses, our first initial and our last name.
Okay. Great, thank you. As I mentioned, I did fill out the form to send it to the State Advisory Board Naming Committee. And I will do the same for the BGN. I think their deadline is not until the 24th of this month. And I will write up whatever historical information I have. It's pretty darn interesting. You all might want to know more about it at some point. But happy to do that, and I'll get that to you, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, and I was just going to ask if you would include me in that, just to satisfy my own curiosity. That would be great.
Right. Right.
And
Okay.
then, sorry,
That's right. Go ahead. I'm interrupting.
I went ahead and I looked at the form that the Colorado CGNAB it has with the deadline today for public input. And it doesn't allow for a lot of editorialism, but, and this is just me, Brian, I don't know if Randy or Sean would agree. I would be satisfied with you just filling out this form for today and then giving yourself a little more time to write a letter.
That works.
Wagon Road Pass. Just for
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Do we have any other business to cover today? Are there any other public comments, or did you guys close that already? Well, I see there's only one person there.
George, will you send me a link to that form?
Yeah.
Well, if we don't have any further business, then I believe we're adjourned until tomorrow.
thanks.
All right,
Thanks, everybody.
see you.